light is red, the kids are in bed, which means it is time for Mile High Musings with me, Aaron Yowell, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. What's good, everyone? Welcome to episode 2 of Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Aaron Yowell. Very, very happy to be back for episode 2. Thank you very much. Hope you all had a wonderful week. Happy early Merca Day to you. Be safe out there on Tuesday now. Be careful. Now let's go ahead, let's breathe in that rarefied mountain air and get into some sports takes a mile above the rest. Today, I want to talk about the Avs free agent moves, and my gosh, were there a lot of them. I mean, down to, I think, an hour and a half before I went live here. The Nuggets, we're going to talk about their free agent moves. We're going to talk about the Rockies week in review. And then we'll see how it goes. I'm not sure with all of the Avalanche goings-ons that we're going to have time. But I would love to get my Broncos takes out there. I have a few, and I would really, really love to get them out there. But we'll see. There was so much action in so many other places. We're gonna need to bide our time. So before we go any further, let's go ahead and take care of some company business. For the last 9 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to keep up with the latest in sports and with our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website, iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and all of our show pages with personal bios and the podcast feed for each individual show, including this one, Mile High Musings. Check out the show page at iesportsradio.com/Mile High Musings. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeve shirts, hoodies, and so much more. For nearly a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans and for the fans, and we thank each and every one of you for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. All right, so before we get too far into the new, I want to go ahead and correct myself on some things I said last week. That's just how I roll. That's who I am. First thing is that the Avalanche traded the signing rights to Alex Galchenyuk, and Nashville didn't sign him. Arizona did, though. So, GG Galchenyuk, good luck in the college arena there. That's terrible to watch on TV, straight up. And then I also said that Ryan Johansson's salary was going to be an $8 million salary cap hit. It's not. Nashville has agreed to take on half of Johansson's $8 million salary. So it's really only a $4 million cap hit. And I say only, gosh, If only, right? But those were my couple corrections from last week. I'm sure that I made more mistakes, but let's get into the ins. Let's talk about the ins for the free agency. The free agent moves that the Avalanche made and the trades that they made that I haven't covered yet. So let's start with draft day, Thursday. The Avs traded Alex Newhook. This deal was a deal that I think a lot of people who cover the Avalanche saw coming a mile away. Newhook went to Montreal for a late first round, the 31st pick, and an early second round, the 37th pick. And then Chris MacFarland and Joe Sakic turned around and dealt that 37th pick to Tampa Bay for center Ross Colton, who's a hard skater. He's not afraid to get his hands dirty on the forecheck. Hold on, there's a theme developing. See if you can figure it out. So instantly I like the move. Do we give up some skill? Yeah, but we never saw what Newhook could actually do. Let me get there. I'm going to get through all these and then I'm going to talk about reflections. Then yesterday, the Avs signed Miles Wood from the New Jersey Devils. Wow, tongue-tied. Excuse me. Words are hard. He scored 13 goals and picked up 14 assists last season in 78 games with the Devils. Evan Lou from SB Nation reported that Wood's great on the forecheck. There's that theme, which we so desperately need. And I was talking about it last week. It's one of the things that killed us in the playoffs. Wood plays left wing, same position as our captain, who's out for the year. So that's a good start. We like that. Also yesterday, Avalanche signed Jonathan Drouin, a left winger from the Montreal Canadiens, for a 1-year, $825,000 contract. Drouin tallied 29 points in 58 games last season for the Canadiens. I mean, he's 28. He has 33 games of playoff experience, but I think the kicker is that he was a teammate and a line mate of my boy Nate McKinnon on the Halifax Mooseheads. And so at first glance, you're looking at the point totals and the games played and the kind of contract that we offered him, and you're thinking, okay, middle six, maybe bottom six kind of guy. And then you realize that he's played with Nate, he's bounced around quite a bit, and he actually could be a top six guy this year, especially with Landeskog being out, Drouin being a left winger. A lot of people around the organization are really high. There's a lot of upside, and so for us to get Drouin for a 1-year, $825,000 contract, I think sets us up for the future. I think that's great. Funny thing is that Drouin and Johansson both wore 92 for their last clubs. Don't think that's happening here. Try to keep it in chronological order, but so many things were going down, and I was trying to keep all of my notes straight and putting a baby to sleep and flipping through Twitter or Instagram or reading articles and trying to find places to make notes. So if I go out of order here in the context of how things went down, forgive me. Next up, some in-house stuff went down. Bowen Byram was given a contract extension. Evan Liu of SB Nation, again, reports that Byram will receive a $3.85 million a year contract for the next 2 years. So it works out to be about $7.7 million over the course of 2 years. I think this is definitely a bridge contract. It takes care of Byram for the next 2 years, getting him out of his, kind of extending him on his rookie contract, and then after we get some money off the books and we see what happens with Drouin and all of these things, we can expand Byram's contract and we can get him locked in for much longer and more money. And we all know, those of us who love to watch the Avalanche, he and Makar are the future for the defense. As much as I love the Cale Makar, Devon Taves pairing, if it's not this year, I bet next year, if not then definitely the year after, when we lock Byram into a long-term big money deal, the top defensive pairing for our squad will be Cale Makar and Bowen Byram. I mean, if he plays the way that he's capable, Byram, that is, this contract, it's going to balloon. I think it's going to balloon. Checking in with the chat. What's up, Larry B? Good to see you. More in-house stuff. Andrew Cogliano is back. 1 year, $825,000. Contract was reported by Peter Baugh, The Athletic. I love this move. I love Cogliano. I love what he brings to the team. He's a workhorse. He is one of those guys that gets after it on the forecheck, and he, broke his neck in that series. So get him back. Give Cogs another shot. Let him run out there with the fourth line. Let him be a penalty killer. We need that too. And then, sort of the 11th hour before the pod went live, Jack Johnson, JJ, Old Banana Waffles, is going to be back for 1 year on the vet minimum. So the salary, the fact that it was an in-house guy, means the Avs have a little bit more flexibility to, quote, tinker, as Chris McFarland said on Friday, as things were getting ramped up. So we took care of some in-house stuff. Now let's talk about the outs, about what left, who left, what kind of contracts we didn't pick up. We talked about Newhook already. Then Eric Johnson, EJ, the Condor, the longest tenured Avalanche player of this generation, has moved on. He signed a 1-year deal with the Buffalo Sabres for $3.25 million. I mean, I love what EJ has meant to this team and what he did for the Cup run and what he did last year, kind of holding some things down when he was healthy. But I am super okay with the Avs not paying him that. They had to sink money in Bowen Byram. Period. End of story. Jack Johnson on the vet minimum, like I said, gives them flexibility, gives them the room to tinker. And so it just becomes this, can we pick up another guy? If we can't pick up another defenseman right now, can we go get somebody at the trade deadline? Could be. Or does that extra money, because Jack Johnson's a good player. He's a little bit younger than EJ, if I'm not mistaken. I will check back on that one and let you know next week if I mess that up. But Jack Johnson is a little bit younger than EJ. McFarland and Sakic are definitely going with youth on the defensive core. So I think it works. If we're okay with Johnson, that gives us more money to fill out the bottom six, which is the bottom six forwards, which is where I think we're hurting. Incredibly so. Larry B., you're right. Saving money is key, especially in this NHL, and it's crazy as I'm comparing the NHL free agency and what these guys are getting paid and what NBA players are getting paid. And I understand the product is different. I understand TV deals are different. Marketing is different. Shoes, jerseys, all that jazz. NBA players make stupid money. Hockey players, I think, are the toughest dudes on the planet, and they make not as much most of the time as NBA players. So it's just crazy to me as I've watched all these things unfold that we're going to talk about tonight. So EJ's gone. Here's another move that I thought was pretty well sussed. JT Compher's out. He signs a 5-year, $5.1 million a year deal with the Detroit Red Wings. So it works out to be $25.5 million over the course of that 5 years. The Detroit Red Wings. I can't. I was going back and forth on Twitter with a Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, a.k.a. Kyle Sullivan, one of the hosts of Locked On Avalanche on the Locked On Sports Network, sort of regarding this deal, and we both kind of agreed that it would be super unfortunate if Compher landed with the Red Wings. And I started this conversation when initial reports came out that Detroit was interested. Compher fills a need that they have. Detroit's way in the rebuilding, and the years of the Avalanche, Red Wings, hated rivalry, all of that it's not this generation. But I still don't like to see an Avs guy go to Detroit. So, I mean, almost any other team could have and would have been fine. But not Detroit. But I knew Compher was getting paid. I knew he was moving on, so that was happening. And then two deals that came down late last night or first thing this morning. Lars Eller and Matt Nieto both signed with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Eller signed a 2-year deal that will net him just short of $5 million over the 2 years. Nieto's deal is a little less lucrative. His contract is 2 years, but it's for $900,000 a year. So I really wasn't surprised by either of these moves. Bottom six guys, penalty killers. Eller, I didn't think was coming back from jump. I think that Nieto was going to be a cap casualty. So it wasn't in the cards. Yes, Larry B., an Avalanche player becoming a Red Wing is a whole heck of a lot like a Bronco becoming a Raider, a Charger, or a Chief. straight up. It's not football season yet. I have some spicy takes on the AFC West. I definitely, sitting here in my studio, have a framed picture behind me over my left shoulder that says, "In this house, we praise the Lord and root for the Denver Broncos." And my 5-year-old daughter knows that straight up gospel because she's always looking for Broncos stuff. I'm wearing my Nuggets championship hat right now. "Daddy, where's your Broncos hat?" "It's in the closet, sweetie." So I've indoctrinated my daughter young. I'm not ashamed of it. She knows to look for the Broncos. So Eller out, Nieto out, Comfer out, EJ out. Lastly, this one made me sad. I was hoping that we could get him back, but we can't, and I get it. Evan Rodriguez signed a 4-year deal with the Florida Panthers. I had a feeling he was going to be gone, but I wanted to keep him back because I loved what Erod brought in the regular season, and I thought he was a good fit to this squad. Is he a top 6 guy? No. No. He had some flashes during the regular season, like I said, and he had to play in the top 6 because of injuries. But in the playoffs, he just didn't have it. I don't know if he wasn't ready for the speed. I don't know if, and I've talked about how Seattle was just so relentless. And Erod's a scrappy guy, but I think he just kind of got lost in the wash. So Erod, Florida Panthers, good for him, but that's sad. At the end of the day, as we go back through and look at all these, Newhook was given the keys to the kingdom that was 2C, and then he proceeded to pee down his own leg. Straight up. Early in the season, Bednar gave him a leash, and it ended up being a short leash. And then Comfort took over because he had to, because we had no one else to play 2C, and in doing so, Comfort had a career year. And to me, that's always going to have an asterisk by it because his career year was a product of him having to play more, having to be in more situations. He was on the power play, first unit, which I don't think that's a place for JT Comfort. He was on the second line with Val and Erod and scorers. So I just don't think that. I don't think Comfort is worth the $25 million, which is why the Avs didn't pay it. EJ leaving's tough because of what he meant to Colorado and the Avalanche, but he's getting older. And as I said, the Avalanche are kind of going towards that youth movement with the defensive core. So there you go. As far as the guys coming in, I want all the tough, muck it up dogs you can give me. We severely lacked edge and toughness on 50-50 pucks and forechecking. I talked about that a lot last week. And there were so many times towards the end of the season, especially in the playoffs, where I didn't feel like we had enough guys that wanted to score the dirty, chippy, ugly goal. I think we're getting those players back. We're not back, but we're getting those players in free agency. I mean, we talked about Ross Colton last week. That's a guy who plays fearless, and I like that. So we need some ugly goals. We need guys who aren't afraid to stick their nose in it. We were so concerned with getting the sexy goal, passing it around, bang, bang, one-timer, Makar, McKinnon, Mikko. We need some ugly goals. We're missing Landeskog on the power play, especially for that, and in some set situations. But that's what we're missing. I think we're getting that with some of the guys that we're bringing in. Next week, maybe after things have calmed down, we can look at projected forward lines and the defensive pairings for the Avs. But Coach is calling a timeout, so we're going to take a break. I'm Aaron Yowell. You're listening to Mile High Musings on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and sinners. Hello, sports fans around the world. Hello, IE Sports family. This is Cale Henderson, the host of IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio. If you folks are interested in sports in the Vegas area, if you're wanting to have a blast for 1 hour, every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, this is a show built for the Vegas sports fans, where we feature the Las Vegas Raiders, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the Las Vegas Aces, and the University of Las Vegas, Nevada Rebels. hopefully, fingers crossed, MLB team coming soon. Either way, if you folks are looking to have a blast for 1 hour each and every week, tune in Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you folks are interested in Vegas sports news, go to our Twitter at SinCities_IESR, and you can speak with me, the host, Cale Henderson, at Cale_Henderson on Twitter. At any time, be happy to reply. Always want to reach out to our fans. Again, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Notarius Law.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
All right, that horn has sounded. The timeout is over. It's our ball, side out, and I'm your trigger man, Aaron Yowell, for Mile High Musings, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Don't forget to give the show a follow on Twitter at Mile High Musings _IESR to interact with us more during the week. We've got lots of content. I can't get everything out in an hour because I talk too much and I have too much to say. But I wanna interact more, so let's go ahead, give the show a follow. Interacting with the chat, Larry, you know it's right. You know it's right. My girls are gonna know who we root for in this house. Let's get into the Nuggets. Today's episode is Silly Sloppy Season 4 a reason. I have corrections, and then I have, what's going on with the Nuggets as we roll into this free agency period. So corrections from last week. I kept calling it NBA free agency. The free agency period didn't actually start until Friday at 6 p.m. Or was it Thursday at 6 p.m.? No, it's Friday at 6 p.m. Days. What are days? Who knows? Y'all, I'm human. I'm going to make mistakes. This is a live show that I'm recording now that you're listening to later. It's okay. So I kept calling it NBA free agency. It wasn't. People were just making trades. It's all good. In the analysis of moves made up to that point, I kept saying that guards weren't the answer, and then I turned around and said Marcus Smart, who's a guard, could be the answer to stopping the Nuggets. What I meant by that is that offensive guards aren't the answer. Super teams being created, teams loading up with all of these ball-swallowing shooting guards and point guards, pound the ball into the hardwood guards. That's not the answer to beat the Nuggets. And there's a lot of advanced metrics that can back me up on that, especially the Nuggets' offensive efficiency throughout the playoffs. It doesn't matter who anybody put out on the floor. The Nuggets per possession were leaps and bounds better than literally anybody who had played the game of basketball, any team that had played the game of basketball since that stat had started to be tracked. So you pounding the ball into the floor or getting shooting guards that are going to stop the flow of your offense literally aren't going to do you any good. During the NBA Finals, the Heat had a fantastic, game two shooting in Denver against the Nuggets. But as they kept trying to put up more and more threes, I kept telling anybody who would listen, please let them shoot threes. That's a way lower percentage shot, and we're guaranteed to make 50% more two-pointers than they are three-pointers, and that's a math problem. So, anyways, that's what I meant by offensive guards aren't the answer. And then I thought it was kind of baffling that teams weren't moving bigs. Boston got Porzingis, but that's in the East, so we really wouldn't have to deal with Porzingis until the finals. So I think you have to throw a lot of bigs out at Jokic to try to slow him down. Stopping Jokic is out of the question, ladies and gentlemen. Period. End of story. And side note, I saw this on Twitter. I'm still verifying it. I hope it's true. My God, do I hope it's true. Nikola Jokic on the cover of NBA 2K24. I don't even have a video game system that takes a physical cartridge for that game. But I would buy a copy of that case at least just to have my boy on 2K24. It's fine. So I hope that's true. Let's get into it. Let's rip the Band-Aid off on this thing. Bruce Brown. 2 years, $20+ million each year. The second year is a team option year. Y'all, if we saw anything from Bruce from this year, he's going to play and he's going to get that team option. He's going to be put in a position to have that team option. Losing Brucey B stinks. I think we all saw it coming. And I literally think that everyone, sans me, I was not drunk during the parade. I was working. But I think everybody who was at the parade believing that Bruce was coming back was letting the alcohol talk. That man did work this year, especially in the playoffs, especially in the finals. I kind of felt like when he hit that put back on the backside in Game 5, I was like, well, there's his last bucket as a Nugget. Period. End of story. My dude was going to get a fat bag, and he did. So Bruce Brown out. Thank you, Brucey B, for everything that you did for us. We love you. Thank you for not going to LA. Praise God. You will be a Nugget forever. And when you come back and get your ring, if the Nuggets do not do an amazing tribute video to that man, the franchise is wrong. I think they will. Because I don't think there was any ill will. I don't think this was a move of we really don't want to keep Bruce. I think the Nuggets desperately wanted to keep Bruce. But we are so cash strapped because our starting five is locked in, which I'm fine with. We just couldn't make him the offer that would have made it worth the young man's while at the end of the day. So Bruce Brown out, Reggie Jackson in. He was actually the second free agent signing after free agency started. And who was first this year? That's right, the same guy who was first last year, DeAndre Jordan. When the Nuggets signed DeAndre Jordan last year, right off the bat, at the beginning of free agency, I went, let's see how this plays out. And it played out well. He was serviceable. I believe overall he was a minus for the year, but he's coming in being asked to spell Jokic. I mean, he played in the NBA Finals. Dude got a ring. DeAndre's a culture guy. You could see how much he loved being on that team, how much he loved being the 14th or 15th guy on the bench. He didn't care. He had fun, which, ladies and gentlemen, it's basketball. It's a game. Some of us start playing it at 5 years old, and the whole point is to have fun. DeAndre had fun. So why not bring him back? Keep the culture. Keep the vet presence. I love it. So DeAndre's back. I'm in. Love that. Let's go. Reggie Jackson is the second free agent move that we make. There's a lot of chatter going on in the Twitterverse about that's dumb. Reggie Jackson was terrible. I don't know that he was. I don't know that he's Reggie Jackson from 5 years ago. You know, definitely not Reggie Jackson from his Detroit days. But give the guy an off season. Give him more time in the culture, in the system, and let's see what happens. Because he was a deadline move. Going into the playoffs, loading up, getting that veteran presence, getting one more guy that could handle the ball off the bench. Is Reggie Jackson the complete cure-all for losing Bruce? No. But I think an off season with the team will only help him and only help the chemistry of the second unit. I truly believe that. I'm okay with it. Going into today, Denver left the 15th roster spot wide open, and they weren't really looking to make another move, but we're going to get there. Jeff Green's gone. I think that's the one that surprises people. Uncle Jeff was courted out of Denver this weekend. He signed a 1-year, $6 million contract to join the Houston Rockets. I think Udoka in Houston is looking at Jeff Green going, I see your veteran presence in Denver. I see what you did with those young cats. Come here. I got a lot of young cats that need some mentoring, that need an older presence on the bench, somebody who's now literally won a championship. They need that presence. And I think Uncle Jeff is great for that. Dude got paid. Good for him. I'm sad. I actually think Jeff Green is one player that we can fill that void talent-wise easier than Bruce Brown. Culture-wise, I don't know. We might be okay. I love Uncle Jeff. I got a soft spot for him. I think the Nuggets thought they were going to be lucky enough to keep Jeff Green, but y'all, we were never going to offer Jeff Green $6 million. Mid-level exception, maybe something half that, I think, is realistic. $3 million, maybe something like that, but not $6 million for a year. So it's kind of the same idea as Bruce Brown. Uncle Jeff, thank you for your service. Congrats on your chip. Get paid, my guy. Get paid. I'm down for it. So then you have the 11th hour move for the Nuggets. So I'm trying to get my 4-month-old to sleep today. Nuggets bring in Justin Holiday. So between a Woj bomb and YouTube personality and one of the Denvengers, Swipe-A-Cam, we got this news on Twitter. Justin Holiday, 6'6" small forward, who, quote, plays good on and off-ball defense. He didn't see a lot of minutes between two teams last year. He played for the Mavs and the Hawks. He averaged single-digit points. I mean, the guy's 34 years old. He's another journeyman vet, so to me, he's like an end-of-the-bench guy to fill in for Jeff Green, or if he's really that good on defense, Michael Malone's going to play him because defense wins championships, as we saw. And so you're bringing another guy with length. You're bringing a veteran with length. We have some of that mid-size, average, quote-unquote, average NBA size length in spades. It's just not ready yet. Peyton Watson, who we're going to talk about in a second. Hunter Tyson, Julian Strawther. Those three guys in particular come to mind. Zeke Naji. Those four guys come to mind. We're going to talk about it in a second. They have that length. Zeke is bigger than all of them. But Justin Holiday has been around for a while. So the landscape has shifted. And there was no way in my mind that Nuggets were going to be the same team October 15th that they were the day we won the championship. And I think all Nuggets fans need to be real about this. One of my catchphrases when I talk to people about sports is that, yes, I'm a homer, but yes, I'm objective. We need to be real about this. We didn't have the money to offer these guys this kind of money. So we were going to be different. I did some digging. The last three championships that have gone down. So 2021 Bucks, 21-22 Warriors, and then the Nuggets. Just to look at starting lineups and see how much they had changed. I didn't look at overall lineup combinations. I don't have time for that. I'm trying to get to more than 2 sports in this podcast tonight. But in the 2021 season, the champion Bucks, their starters were Giannis, Dante DiVincenzo, Drew Holiday, Brook Lopez, Chris Middleton. The next year, starters were Giannis, Grayson Allen, Drew Holiday, Bobby Portis, and Chris Middleton. Injuries and things, I get it. I understand that when I talk about this next team in particular, injuries matter. But you can see that the starting 5 for the Bucks, not the same. Close, but not the same. And that's not even looking at the bench guys that they lost. 21-22, Golden State Warriors win the championship. Their starters, Steph, Draymond, Kevon Looney, Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins. This past season, the starters were Steph, Draymond, Looney, Clay, and Andrew Wiggins. Not the same. Warriors, I think, are on a little bit of a different trajectory than the Bucks. Definitely on a different trajectory than the Nuggets. And their starters are going to look drastically different this year. They went and got a whole bunch of guards, but I'm not here to talk about Golden State. The differences between those two teams that won championships and the Denver Nuggets, who just won a championship, the Nuggets starters are all the same. Yes, their sixth man is different, but you watched a 22, 23-year-old kid become a man in the NBA Finals in Christian Brown. So Matt Moore, the Action Network and co-host of the Locked On Nuggets podcast, said it perfectly on yesterday's show. Don't get it twisted. Quote, don't get it twisted. The Nuggets' best five is still better than everybody else's best five. Oh, and you have Christian Brown. He's right, gang. We're good. So this was a team, the Nuggets, that were praised the whole year, and especially in the playoffs, for playing for each other. So yes, it stinks to lose a guy like Brucey B. But let's see what these guys can do. Come together, pick up some slack, adjust as a collective. You know, if we as Nuggets fans thought that staying the same completely, like down the roster, 1 through 15, was the key to winning the chip again, we don't understand the landscape of the NBA very well. It's one of those things I'm telling you we got to be objective about. I think Reggie Jackson as the backup point guard might be a stopgap. I think it might open the door for Jalen Pickett. Not that I'm guaranteeing he's going to be ready this year. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. I think that it opens the door for Peyton Watson. I went back and watched some film on Peyton Watson, and of course, like all I'm doing real quick is watching highlights, and so everything looks great. I did see some moments of Peyton Watson that were like, but Peyton Watson's not a point guard. He can handle the ball better than Christian Brown, but he's not a point guard. He's athletic as all get out. He's got crazy amount of talent. So let's see what he can do. He dominated in the G League. Not dominated, but he played well in the G League. There just wasn't a spot for him, especially in the playoffs when you're shortening your bench to 7 or 8. There wasn't a spot for Christian Brown in the Western Conference Finals. And then when you got halfway through Game 3 in the NBA Finals, Michael Malone was playing Christian Brown come hell or high water because the kid earned it. Like I said last week when we were talking about the draft picks, and now that I'm looking at the actual landscape with Bruce Brown being gone, the first thing that people like Peyton Watson, Jalen Pickett, Julian Strawther, Colin Gillespie, if they want to get in the mix, they better play defense first. They better play defense first. So you've got really all roads, I think, realistically, leading to Christian Brown and Peyton Watson filling the void for Brucey B. Unless Christian Brown goes away this offseason and comes back a much better ball handler. If CB can do that, then there's one dude that I'm playing in the sixth man, and it's Christian Brown all the time, period. And you know, that roster that won the championship nigh on 3 weeks ago was way more cultivated than splash bought. So I have faith in Malone, I have faith in Calvin Booth, and all the player development staff for the Nuggets with these guys that they brought in and these young guys. I think it's going to be okay. I just think we need to continue to be realistic about the trajectory of the Nuggets. Oh, you know what? Looks like there's going to be a mound visit. So on the other side, let's take a look at the Rockies over the past week. See what they got up to. You are listening to Mile High Musings right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Are you a fan of Buffalo sports? Are you thinking of changing loyalties and becoming a Buffalo sports fan? Do you even know where Buffalo is on the map? Did you know Canada is closer to Buffalo than New York City? Welcome to the Buffalo Huddle, every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Patty Bax. This is a podcast designed for you, the passionate sports fan. I know you love your sports. Who doesn't? I cover Buffalo sports and so much more by bringing in the human elements. I call it Buffalo Sports with a Twist. Join me as we take a journey into the world of Buffalo sports. I guarantee you'll fall in love with Buffalo just like I did. Each week we start with an inspiration, question of the day, a Buffalo fun fact, and our weekly challenge to you, the listener. Come huddle up with me. Every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time for the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Bax on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. As we say in Buffalo, go Bills!
All right, Coach is on his way back to the dugout, which means we're back, baby. We are back on Mile High Musings right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Thanks again for checking us out week 2. It's been a lot of fun, and I just love having a place to talk Colorado sports all the time. It's really filled me with joy over the last couple weeks to do all this research. So let's talk Rockies. Let's go back and look at their week. Rockies had Monday off, and then they welcomed in the LA Dodgers, and they proceeded to lose 5-0 against Clayton Kershaw on Tuesday in the series opener. Enough said. Kershaw, who was just named the NL starting pitcher for the All-Star game. Ha 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 ha. Then Wednesday, we got a win. It's a winning Wednesday. We actually got tacos. If you have to ask about it, it's too expensive for you. It was a Taco Wednesday. Rockies win 9-8. It was a by committee win. K-Free got the start, threw 100 pitches through 5 innings, struck out 7, walked 5. He gave up 6 in the 4th after the offense gave him 4 runs of support between the second and the third inning. You know, the bats woke up in this game, I think a little bit. In the 6th inning, they had a 5-run outburst of their own. Ezekiel Tovar had a base-clearing double to cap off the inning. Bullpen tried to give it away, though, in the 8th, like they do. They let the Dodgers get within 1, but that ended up being the end of the push. Thursday, series finale against the Dodgers. Rockies give up 2 touchdowns and kick a field goal. I'm sorry. Rockies lose 14-3. And, I mean, if you want some small victories at the end of the 2 series against the LA teams, the Rockies broke even. They took 3 total. 2 from the Angels, 1 from the Dodgers. And one of them was a series win, like I said. Small victories, yay. So then we got to welcome in the Detroit Tigers for a 3-game set to end this homestand. You know what? Speaking of Detroit Tigers, check out IE Sports Radio's Lions, Tigers, Pistons, and Wings, Oh My, with Zachary Puplis for all your Detroit sports needs. And I had to shout out the show because it's the second Detroit team I've talked about this podcast, and I'm not that much of a hater. No, I'm kidding. Go check it out. If you love Detroit sports, go check it out. So Friday we opened up with a win against the Tigers, looking great. Bats coming around again. 5-run second, kind of like the 5-run 6th against the Dodgers on Wednesday. Help support the pitching staff again. This time, Rockies didn't look back after the 5-run second. Ezekiel Tovar had a homer late in this game. My dude's cooking. Everything's looking good for him. But, it's a team game. Saturday, lose 4-2 and 10. It was 1-1 going into extras. Bullpen gave up a 3-run homer in the 10th, and then the Rockies were only able to scrounge up another run on a Chris Bryant single in the 10th. That was as close as we could get. And then the Rockies go ahead and give up 2 more touchdowns today and lose 14-9 in a game where pitching surrendered not 1, but 2 grand slams. Coors Field. Am I right? I know. Trying to find bright spots here. Tovar had a solid week, and he brought his average up to 269. He's got 8 homers and 41 RBIs as we stand right now, Sunday evening, 8:45 Mountain Time. I like the pop coming from a shortstop position. I always have. I always will. My guy has a 15-game hit streak as well, so let's go, young man. And then after the game today, Elias Diaz was named to the All-Star team in Seattle. So, small victories, like I said, for the Rockies, but not a whole lot to cheer about. At the end of the week, Rockies were outscored 50-31 in the 2 series that they played in. I've made a big deal about Coors Field before and the altitude, but I mean, dang, why can't we do that to people? Why can't we put up 2 touchdowns on somebody? We live in the park. We know how the offense and the bats work. It's tough inside the not-so-friendly confines. And I vowed last week to you to get more in-depth in the Rockies, and I can't because the Avalanche went ahead and moved seemingly everyone on their roster who wasn't named Rantanen, McKinnon, or Landeskog. But we've got the All-Star break coming up. We'll see what the Rockies do as we get closer to the trade deadline. Who are we going to move? I mean, we're going to pick up prospects because that's just where we're at. I want to take a quick break. There's a timeout on the field. Looks like an injury timeout. We're going to step away for one quick break. We're going to do a final segment because I have to talk Broncos. I have to talk about the Denver Broncos. It's what I've been waiting for 2 weeks now. So after we get this injury on the field sorted out, let's come back and talk Broncos. I'm Aaron Yowell. This is Mile High Musings on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's good, everyone? It's Drewski, the host of Heart of Texas Sports on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. On this station, we cover everything in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area. From where we cover the Dallas Cowboys, the Dallas Stars, Dallas Mavericks, Dallas Wings, Texas Rangers, TCU, SMU, we cover it all right here every Wednesdays from 9 to 10 p.m. Central Time. Make sure you stay live with me on the Heart of Texas Sports on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We are back here on Mile High Musings on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Turns out that injury timeout was for your boy here. I did something to my rib cartilage this week. I don't know what's going on, but like that old Maroon 5 song, it is getting harder and harder to breathe. Let's check in with the chat. Thanks for being with us. Episode 2 has been a blast. I'm so excited to get into the Broncos. Appreciate you stopping by the live chat. Let's do this, man. For all of these Colorado teams, for all of these teams that I've talked about, we got to talk about the team that I am the most critical of. The Denver Broncos, along with the Denver Nuggets, are the original ride or die franchises for me. And the Broncos have burned me so bad. The Nuggets have done stupid things. But there are parts of Broncos history that I have literally deleted from my mind because I can't even. And maybe one day, as we do a season preview or something, maybe I'll do a couple segments on my least favorite Bronco moments. And I will tell you that my least favorite Bronco moments are some of Bronco fans' favorite Bronco moments, including the Bronco fans that raised me. So that's a little tease. Let's get into this Broncos stuff. We got a little bit of time. Let's get into the Broncos. The good people in Las Vegas. Shout out IE Vegas. Go check out IE Vegas, Sin City, on IE Sports Radio. The bookmakers of Vegas have the over-under for the Denver Broncos wins at 8.5 this year. The DNVR Broncos podcast on the DNVR network said that 10 wins for the Broncos is in play. I guess if I had to, I'm going to take the over, but only by like half a game. Yeah. I don't think 9-8 is out of the question. I think a complete 180 from last year, going from 5-12 to 12-5, I think that would be a miracle season. And if that happens, Sean Payton better be the coach of the year. I will tell you that right now. And Russell Wilson better be an MVP talk. Because we still have to deal with the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Raiders 2 times each. And, Pat Mahomes and Justin Herbert are good. And they're young. So, and we're not even going to talk about the Raiders. That's a whole season preview thing, and we break down the AFC West. But last year, let's just say, Russ wasn't himself. And I'm not going to sit here in this chair and bash him. That real estate is well spoken for, and I will tell you that I did enough of that from the comfort of my own couch. So none of my takes on his performance last year are really relevant, other than a few. I think, for all that it's worth, Nathaniel Hackett, he was supposed to be this offensive genius, and that man looked like guys I called plays against when I coached 3A freshman football in 2009. I was not impressed. I spent more time, I think, yelling at Hackett than I ever did at Wilson. And then, of course, you throw on top of that Javonte Williams getting hurt, Tim Patrick getting hurt, the O-line injuries, and the stable of O-line that we went through throughout the entire year. That seemed to have the Broncos snake bit. And then you have Melvin Gordon coughing it all up left, right, and center. It's like John Madden said, that guy needs some stickum on his hands. Boom. Right? I don't think Russ was ever put in a position to succeed last year. The deck was stacked against him. So he will have a bounce back year. Quote me. 853 Mountain. Russell Wilson will have a bounce back year. Because the only way to go from where he was last year is up, y'all. And I think Russ is too proud of a man, and I think he has too much skill set still left in him for last season to be the way that people are going to think about him. Talk about a bad taste in your mouth. I think that the Broncos desperately need some of that Nuggets locker room culture. Football, especially football, is a sport where you must play for the guy next to you. You go to war. I remember coaching, and that's what we talked about. You look at the guy next to you, and you're going to war with them. Y'all, that hasn't existed on the Broncos sidelines for a long time. Those Peyton Manning teams, the prolific offenses, that defense that won Super Bowl 50. Maybe that defense that won Super Bowl 50 played for each other, went to war. Peyton was so good, he wasn't going to let anybody screw around with his last chance at all. But I just think the Broncos need to, as kumbaya-y as this sounds, they need to link arms. They need to look at each other and be like, all right, we're doing this for each other. This is stupid. This is not what our franchise is built on. I talk about realistic expectations with the Nuggets, and I started to reflect a little bit this week on realistic expectations for the Broncos. I told you that 9-8 is not out of the question. I think that 12-5 would be a miracle. I talked to a friend who's a Chiefs fan. Yes, I have them. I pray for them every night. But he said 10 wins for the Broncos is plausible. And I said, I'd take that. That doubled our win total from last year. But the Broncos fans seem to have, I don't know if we're disenchanted by Craig Morton getting us to the Super Bowl in 77 against the Cowboys, or if it's all the Elway runs where we went to the Super Bowl and looked like the freshman team out there, or John finally winning two, and then Peyton coming in. Sometimes I stop and wonder, are Broncos fans disenchanted? Are we looking at the franchise through rose-colored glasses? And this is something that I think I'm going to look into, but what is our overall franchise success? And are we really focused in on the Elway championships, the Peyton championship, as, well, that's the way the franchise should be? Is it? Because I can think of a lot of years where 500 was as good as we got. I can think of a lot of years recently where, boy, I'd like to be 500. So, I don't know. I think that, like the Nuggets and the free agent moves, I think that Broncos fans need to grab some real expectations here. I don't know what the payoff will be, but if we make the playoffs, I'll wager something. We'll do a bit on the show. Talk about getting listeners. We'll do a bit on the show if the Broncos make the playoffs. I don't know what it is yet. Larry and I will talk about it. But I was all excited to talk about Broncos, and now I'm done. I don't know. We're going to get into training camp and all that stuff after it's done. We'll do a season preview. We'll break down the AFC West. We will go ahead and throw a win total up there. But the clock is a ticking, gang. It's time to wrap this thing up. Don't forget to follow us over on Twitter, Mile High Musings _ IESR. Interact with us. Come check us out. Check out all of the other shows on the IE Sports Radio Network. Give them a listen. Go listen to the Neutral Zone. Go listen to Fast Break. Go listen to the Big Cheese. Get your Chi-Town Weekly in. There's going to be places where Broncos fans are going to be gluttons for punishment here in the next 2 months or whatever it is. But next week, we're going to talk more about the Rockies. Heading into the All-Star break, we'll see what other moves have been made in the NBA, in the NHL, that pertain to our beloved Nuggets and Avalanche. I still am itching to talk Buffs and Rams college football. CSU just pulled in some big recruits, and of course we got to talk about Coach Prime and the effect that he's having on CU culture, which I just talked about Broncos culture and how it needs a kick in the pants. We got to talk about Dion and what Coach Prime is bringing back to Boulder. Got to talk more Broncos. It's got to happen. But I just want to thank you so much for being here with us today. Tonight, if you're live, whenever you get a chance to listen to this. We got to get out of here, though. It's been a blast, as always, coming to you from the mountaintop. Thank you so much for spending your time with me here on Mile High Musings. I am Aaron Yell. This is Mile High Musings on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sport.